the first thing coming up is Rey Mysterio said in a recent interview with Lillian Garcia that he plans to retire within the next 5 years, wants to do it within WWE. So, what would you like to see Rey do in WWE before he retires? Is there anything? Is there a way that he should go out? Like, as someone who's watched him for a long time, what would be a good way for him to bow out?
Well, I think his final match should be against Dominik, in which Dominik defeats Ray. So Ray puts him over. I think the symbolism there would be very strong and very helpful, very beneficial for Dominik. I am surprised that he was saying another 5 years. I mean, I'm not sure if he's got another 5 years left in him, given the rate at which his body has broken down over a period of many years now, when you think about it. I've got to say, I thought he did look really good against Corbin this week. He's still got it in the ring. As far as what he does before he retires, I'd like him to have another run with a title, and not just a 2 or a 3 week or a 4 week run, but like a meaningful run of like 3 or 4 months. I think he could still do that. I'm not entirely sure that he's got 5 years left in him, but I think he's probably got at least 1 or maybe 2 good years left in him. But yeah, absolutely. I think his final match should be against his son, in which Dominik goes over. And then Ray officially passes the torch to his son, and he heads off into the sunset, and it'll be left to Dominik and Aaliyah.
With to Dominic and Aaliyah. The one thing, what I was going to say was, I mean, it feels like at some point we're going to get Dominic and Ray as tag team champions, right? That seems like a way to
Yeah,
go. And I guess at that point, inevitably, the son betrays the father, as always happens. And but yeah, I mean, it feels like now, all these years they've tried to find someone to replace Rey Mysterio, whether it's Del Rio or Sin Cara, where Dominic might be the one. He might be the replacement.
he could be. Yeah, I mean, I'd be all for that. Ray and Dominik capturing the tag team title, and then Dom potentially doing the heel turn on his father. After a series of losses, frustration takes over. I mean, I had predicted earlier in the year that he would go with Seth Rollins, but obviously that didn't occur. But I mean, I think that would be a good route for both. But I think Ray's definitely got a major, WWE title reign left in him. I'm not saying that he should drop the title to Dominik in his retirement match and then head off into retirement. I'm not sure if Dominik would ever really be capable of holding the WWE title. It's really too soon to say, but that should be the last match. And I think prior to that, I think, yeah, it would be, I think, very fitting for Ray to have another run with the big belt. I mean, if you go back to 2006, it was. I mean, if you look at his title reign there, I mean, it wasn't very satisfying. Let's face it. I mean, I'm sure you remember who dethroned Ray, right, Kenny?
It was. It was it Kali?
I believe it was,
Was
yeah.
yeah the Enigma himself, who now is doing cameos. By the way, he's doing.
Oh, is he?
You can buy if anybody wants to buy me a cameo with the great Kali, the joy that would give me, I can't describe to you. I was good at an
I
accent, but
mean,
I'm not good at it.
pretty similar to the joy you experienced when you learned that Savio Vega was returning at Survivor Series later this month for the Undertaker's 30th anniversary celebration.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Don't you worry. But I did want to ask you one last thing about the Mysterios. This is not the first time we've had a family where there's a mum and a dad, and then there's a daughter and a son, and the daughter goes off with someone she's not supposed to. So, in the spirit of that, I thought I would ask you, from their performances, their acting chops that they've shown, who is more worthy of a potential Emmy nomination? Angie Mysterio or Linda McMahon?
Ooh, I don't
Who's
know.
more
I mean,
wooden?
that's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, it's like oak versus cedar, isn't it? I mean, which is most wooded? I mean, I think Angie probably is worse, probably by a thin sliver of bark. But I mean, Linda was atrocious. And hey, we communicated about this privately after the result of the election. Linda could be on her way back.
She could finally have that heel turn that they tried in 2005. But speaking of heel, I think Angie conveys But the thing is, Linda had that moment at WrestleMania 17 that will live in infamy. You know, Ollie and I recreated it drunk on a live stream at one point. So, you know, but like anyway. So I would say that I think Angie Mysterio is a worse performer, but by the smallest margin.
Yeah, there's not much in it, is there? I mean, there
There's
just
not.
isn't.
But speaking of heel turns, so I need you to explain this to me, Finn. So Savio Vega, right? Who? So here's the history of my relationship with Savio Vega. So I stopped watching WWF in 1995, or end of '94, and I came back in '96, and then I was reading Power Slam and all that, and I think it was Power Slam that actually had written something about how bad King of the Ring '95 was. I thought,
Yes.
I need to watch this match. And then the home video release gave you the bonus of the pre-show match, which was a qualifier for the King of the Ring, which Savio Vega was in. So not only was he in the qualifier, he was in 3 matches on the main card. 4 Savio Vega matches. And then he lost to Mabel in the main event. So
I mean, how could he let us down like that?
how could you give us that big ogre as a main event star? So there was that. But then I was all willing to let it go. He gets in the Nation of Domination, that's fine. He becomes a Barico with big Miguel Perez with the back hair. It's all good. And then
Let's not forget his matches with Steve Austin in 1996.
the Caribbean strap match. He had some good matches with Austin, yeah. But then
that's when it looked like Austin was going to make it and break out of the ringmaster funk. So I mean, Savio Vega was a part of that. Let's give him credit for that, Kenny.
He was, but then it all went wrong. In February of 1998, No Way Out of Texas, it was Steve Austin, Owen Hart, Cactus Jack, and Chainsaw Charlie against the New Age Outlaws and Shawn Michaels and Triple H of DX. And Shawn Michaels had the back injury, so he's resting up before WrestleMania. And there's going to be a mystery partner. A mystery partner. The mind goes, is it Sid making his monumental return? Has Ric Flair had enough of WCW? All the fans in Texas, they are on the edge of their seat. And then that Barico music hits. And out walks big Happy Savio with his flag. And I just thought, are they taking the piss? Is this... Surely you must remember what a letdown that was.
Oh, yes. I mean, the disappointment was palpable, wasn't it? It really was. I mean, on the bright side, it could have been Billy Gunn reprising his winning turn as Rockabilly. But, I mean, he was already on the squad. So, I mean, at least we were spared that. You know, with the Honky Tonk Man, my guy coming out could have come back as his manager.
Honky Tonk Man would have been more over than Vega. At least he's a former IC champ.
True. I mean, it really did feel like a piss take. It was like one of those moments where, you know, WWF's making this comeback. There's this sea change underway. You know, it's making this move from WWF, new generation, cartoon era to attitude era. And Savio Vega, Kenny, almost single-handedly screwed it all up.
Finally, someone on the same page as me. So then, transport ourselves 22 years later. And out of nowhere, we find out Savio Vega is going to be in attendance for The Undertaker's final farewell.
Guest of honor, I believe.
Who could possibly care about?
Well,
and then there's a graphic that Savio and his pals have made where it's like the Undertaker Survivor Series graphic. Then right underneath Photoshop 101, an old photo of Savio with a photo of the BSK in the back of a bus in Europe in 1995. Who gives a